I don't think you need me to tell you that the PRS SE McCarty 594s are really popular guitars. Since these things were first announced, it has become the most requested guitar that people want me to review on this YouTube channel. Today we're finally going to be doing it. I've been playing this specific one for about a week now, and I think I have a pretty good grasp on what this thing is good at, what it's great at, and some potential areas where a little bit of improvement certainly wouldn't hurt. Before we get started, I do think it is important that you know that this is not a sponsored video. I do have affiliate links in the description of this video, though, to Sweetwater and to Tonal if you want to buy this guitar, that amp, or anything else under the sun. I do get a small percentage of that, and it really does help me out. When I was filming the unboxing video for this guitar, I was reminded of something that I kind of took for granted with PRS as a whole compared to the other two big manufacturers in the United States. I was able to take this out of the box, out of the gig bag, tune it up, immediately plug into that amp, and start playing. I didn't have any problems with the setup as it was. I didn't have any problems with the intonation. No problems with the nut. No problems with any electronics not working. And it was really refreshing because I've played guitars from some other brands that cost 4 to 5 times as much money as this one that I can't say the same thing for. I really appreciate that PRS as a whole does a pretty good job of not letting duds get through. And I know that no company is perfect. I'm not claiming that PRS are, but at the end of the day, the consistency is there more so with this brand in my own experience than with some of the others. The fit and finish on the guitar is great, the fretwork is really good, and the fret edges are smooth. It really is going to come down to whether or not you're going to like the neck carve on this. I've had previous McCarty 594s from the S2 range, so I thought I knew exactly what I was getting into with the pattern vintage, but this one feels a little bit different than I remember. Those other ones had a definite PRS feel to them. This one feels a little bit more like a traditional 50s style neck that you might find on another major manufacturer. That's not necessarily a knock against it, and neck carves can vary as they're often finished by hand, but this one definitely has a little bit of a beefier neck to it. Tone's a subjective topic. I'm going to give you my opinion on how I feel this thing sounds through my own rig in the room, but there's something I want to say first. I know a lot of people that buy guitars like this brand new online. Before the thing ever shows up at their house, they've gone on YouTube, they've gone on the gear page, they've gone on Reddit, and they've decided I need to already have a new set of pickups waiting for this thing, and the very first string change, I'm throwing the new pickups in. You don't always got to do that. Sometimes you'll be really surprised by the stock pickups in any guitar, and that's regardless of the price. This particular set of pickups, in my opinion, is the best non-American made set that PRS offers, really G&B, because they're the ones that make them for PRS over in Korea. With gain on, I was really surprised at how well this thing cleaned up when I changed the pick dynamic of my attack, and I thought that overall, I was happy even with the coil splits. One thing that I will give you a piece of advice on if you're not happy with your split coil sounds, because there is a pretty decent volume drop off when you go from humbucker and you split the coil. If you use like the blue side of the protein or a little bit of a boost pedal that's not adding necessarily gain but pumping up the volume a little bit, all of a sudden that kind of wimpy sound that you might feel you're having from a split coil, it goes away and it becomes so much more usable. You keep the characteristic of the single coil nature, but you're adding that beef that sometimes goes a little bit missing, and sometimes people think that's what needs to be replaced. That can justify buying a higher end pickup. This guitar also reminded me of a really cool sound that you can get when you can split humbuckers that I was not able to get on my core McCarty. This has 2 tone knobs. On the McCarty you only had 1, so if you were splitting, both pickups were going to be split. If you split one of them, leave the other one in humbucking mode, and you go to the middle position, you get some really killer sounds. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned there may be some things worth upgrading on these guitars. And this is the part where you think I've been glowing and overly positive. I'm going to be brutal for the next 2 segments. This switch is not very good. It makes a lot of noise. It doesn't always reliably stay in the position that I want it to stay in. I don't love that. The knobs on this guitar do not feel great compared to their American counterparts, but that's not what actually bothers me from a practical standpoint in this area of the instrument. On the volumes, the taper of the pot isn't so bad. There's a little bit of resistance to it, so if you do want to roll something off real quick, you're not going to accidentally basically shut the volume off. That is not the case with the tone knobs. This is so loose that even the slightest touch, and even sometimes if you're just going to split the coil, you're accidentally rolling off some of the tone and you have to real quick kind of go back and put it back to full bore. That's not ideal. So if I was somebody that was seriously looking at one of these guitars, pickups would not be what I'd be looking at. I'd be getting a whole new harness, and I know that Paul Reed Smith sell one that's American spec that will drop into this and the older S2 models, and I'd be looking at a new 3-way toggle. You do those 2 things, I think you're off to the races. Fortunately, the parts that I would want to replace in this guitar aren't all that expensive, and if you could do the work yourself, you'd be talking about under $150. Not that bad. When you consider the fact that some guitars you have to do a whole fret job on, a fret level on, you have to smooth out the edges on your own. I'd much rather have a guitar that gets the important playability parts right, that has the nut cut right, that stays in tune, that perhaps, yeah, it doesn't have the best switch or the best volume potentiometers on it. It's all about perspective, and that's my own personal take on the matter. That's going to be where we leave things for today. Thank you for watching the video. If you found it useful and or entertaining, leave a like. It really does help me out. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about these guitars or PRS in general. If there is a guitar from any manufacturer that you'd like to see me give a similar sort of review on in the future. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take it easy, everybody.